Let's take this drill fluid. Now, we've worked on this repertoire of attacks that are available at knee depth. But the most important part is not your precision technique. Nope. Most important part is your ability to mitigate errors. So when you make a mistake, how quickly do you recover from it? You can have the perfect technique in the world, but you can guarantee when you make a mistake, the length of your recovery process from making that mistake, whether it's perceived or actual, determines your success. Later, in flow fighting, we'll describe this as toughness. It's not your skill, it's not your talent, your physical attributes, it's not your genetics. It's your toughness, the minimizing of your recovery process. So in fluid drills, once again, in fluid drills, go forward to flow fighting, then come back. In the fluid drill, you're focusing upon feeling and recovering from mistakes and errors. Static drills, 25 repetitions, 5-minute protocol. Get the fluid right away. There's more to be gained from being fluid than there is static. So we start here in this elbow block and overhook. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be applying an elliptical knee, this way. Elliptical knee coming down to Dan's kidneys, all the way down his rump, all the way down his thigh. He's going to be absorbing it just by moving to the inside. This way. Dan applies the knee, twist, twist, rotates all the way down. Look at the positioning of the legs. This should be just like your basic exercise, the 4-quarter balance drill. As he hits, you're rooted. You're not, go ahead to hit. Coming out of the way, look what this does, is it exposes me for flight lessons. You want to root, shock absorb, the wave, pause. The wave actually absorbs the force through your body, then roots and let it out through the earth. You still have your shock absorption, your soft work, but you also have your hard work, your rooting. So we're going to alternate back and forth. I throw, he throws. I throw, he throws. Now here's the key to the drill. Turn this way. If you turn your knee over and you plow into him with your kneecap, you can get a small point of deformation which causes him pain and injury. Since we want him to come back to training tomorrow, what we're going to do is we're going to get used to just using the inside of the thigh for placement, just to get used to feeling weight transfer. This isn't because we need an animated body bag to hit. As we're doing this, I feel him go in and kick me. Weight transfer onto this supporting leg in order to free that leg in order to apply force to me. So do it again. Weight transfer, there it is. He should feel the same. And as I'm applying my blow to him, what I'm working on doing is this. Can you step out of the way? I'm working on feeling where my reap is so that I'm constantly mid-foot in balance. That balance point should always be recovered. Not wham, so that if he's not there, I go spinning off into the earth. So I'm feeling where my balance is while I'm working with him, feeling his balance. Second thing, you may come back upstairs. 4 elements of the clinch, what are they? Locking arm, power transfer. Driving leg, mobile leg. Locking arm, power transfer. Driving leg, mobile. So if you look at the total picture now, not just the downstairs architecture, not just the upstairs, total picture, you're pulling him around in a circle on this fulcrum to blast into him. Locking arm, power transfer. Think of it this way. Cross here or cross here. which is going to have more power? Okay? Put him against the wall and hit him, or give him the ability to, as it hits, he can absorb some. Same thing with the knee. If we're here and no contact, I hit him, his body can diminish it by absorbing away from the blow. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Thanks, Newton. So we hit, wham, and we hold him in place. He does the same. Wham, but I make the sound effect for him. Wham. Okay, so that's the first fluid drill. We go back and forth. The next is to sophisticate this a bit. Now, if he goes to knee me, just lift your knee for a second. Now, here's one supporting leg, and his force is coming in a circle. So if this is another supporting leg, and I move this out of the way, as he knees me, the triangle points out here. So I pull him towards it. Come back upstairs for a second. Here's your locking arm now. Here's your power transfer. Up the shaft of his arm. Here. Go to fisticuffs and refer to this vector. This is important. It's not just a flailing arm. It's attached to you, so use this bony lever for propulsion. As he goes to knee you, press up the shaft of his upper arm as you pull down on the overhook. Place him in his triangle point guard. Now, the fluid drill is, we both work on this. So I go to knee him, and he does it. He goes to knee me, I do it. Now, the danger in this drill, Dan and I have been doing this for a while, hence the bruises. But the danger in this drill is that you get into a motor set. If you've referenced shockability, shockability describes the motor set as the tendency for the body to find the easiest way of accomplishing a repetitive exercise. So if I throw my jab towards his face and he ducks, he ducks, he ducks. Now, I'm going to do this towards you. Stand there. He ducks, he ducks. My hand starts to do this. It starts to go out of the way intentionally because it takes too much mental energy to keep on refocusing and calibrating towards that changing position. In this drill, as he goes to knee and we do this repetitively, I will start to do this because I don't like being shocked. I'll start to put my foot into the triangle point because I know it's going there. I know it's going there. That's your danger. Now, what's the purpose of a fluid drill? Go to flow fighting, then come back. Go to flow fighting, then come back. Fluid drills mean what? Fluid drills mean that you're focusing on minimizing the recovery process so that when you make a mistake, you are able to get back into the fight as rapidly as possible. Okay? So in this case, you have to deliberately put yourself into a position of shock every time. Your body habituates. It acclimates to being in shock. So you become desensitized. That's why violence is no big thing to us because we watch it in the movies all the time. It's unfortunate, but it's true. In this case, we have to constantly put ourselves into a point of risk. That's why we must trust our training partner. So in this case, I know that Dan isn't going to step outside of the boundaries of this drill, push my head down into his knee. I know he's not going to do that. He better not do that. Since I know that, I can comfortably throw myself into this drill knowing that he's going to pull me, and he's going to do the same. I'm trying to put myself into a position of shock so I can acclimate towards it. You may have the best skills in the world, but if you've never been hit and some Hoboken comes up and slaps you across the face, you don't have access to your fighting skills. You don't have access to them. Can't draw upon them. So this is putting yourself into a position of shock. That's the purpose of fluid drills. Mitigating your errors. That's one direction. So he goes to the knee. oh, we take him the other direction. Boy, was that shocking, because he didn't expect me to do that. That's really what will happen, because he's not expecting it. He even got a little bit of whiplash there. He goes to knee slowly. Now, he goes to knee, new triangle point. 1 point, 1 point, 2 points. Perpendicular angle. Come back upstairs. Locking arm, power transfer. Here's the fulcrum. Triangle point. Go back downstairs and check where his positioning is. Okay, stay there for a second. I want you to see this. He goes to knee. He'll come right to that point. Now, we reorient, and it's my turn. He's going to do the same thing. His turn. Okay? The difficulty in this is the mental fatigue that comes from constantly resetting your intention. You know that you're not going to be able to achieve your desired technical goal of kneeing him as hard as you can. You know that. However, you have to continue to try to do so. That way you gain value out of these fluid drills, because nothing can communicate to you better the sensitivity of fluid drills. If you do too many dynamic drills, you're not going to improve your tools. Tool application requires tool development. Fluid drills develop your decreased recovery time. In a moment, what we're going to do is sophisticate this drill and add on a few variables to make it head out towards dynamic, yet controlling our performance goal. Now let's take this fluid drill and we'll add some variables to it. So what we'll do is we'll begin by making it asymmetrical. If you look over here, we have Anders and Dan. We'll begin with Anders doing all attack and Dan doing all defense, meaning that Anders is trying to do bodily harm through his elliptical knees to Dan, either into the front or into the rear. Dan is going to be pulling, locking arm power transfer, plus anchoring that to his movement in order to not be hit or to minimize the impact of being hit. Now, that's the technical aspects. The fluid aspects are Anders is trying to feel the timing of Dan moving so he can apply the blow effectively. Dan is trying to feel when Anders goes to weight transfer and apply the blow to him using locking the 4 elements of the clinch. They're both going to make errors. If you're not making errors, the fluid drills don't have any functionality. This should not be a technical exchange, back and forth. Just watch a kung fu flick instead of that, instead of training. You want to make errors. Your ability to mitigate mistakes is essential to your development and refinement of skills. So I'm going to step out. Anders will begin, and go. Stop, go to center. Now, all we'll do now is we're going to switch roles. So Dan is now the attacker, and Anders is the receiver, or avoider, if we can say it. Ready? Go. Final drill. In this last drill, we're going to make it symmetrical. It's going to be challenging because what you want to avoid is collision. If you have collision, what does it mean? It means you weren't collecting data. Okay? Your data comes through the 4 elements of the clinch. If both of you are applying knees, you're not being sensitive to the timing, to the range. You're not feeling what's occurring in your opponent, nor understanding your balance and weight transfer, stability through mobility. In a symmetrical drill, there should be moments of oscillation. You should feel a rise and a lull, a rise and a lull, a rise and a lull. That comes through communication to action, communication to action, communication to action. It's an exchange. So, ready? Go. Stop. So now what we'll do is we're going to add some static work and look at how we can take this fluid drill and functionally add in takedowns and maybe even some impellant force to make this concrete floor more functional. Now what we'll do is we'll add in a flurry of technical demonstrations just so that you can start to apply these leg fencing tactics in at knee depth. So we're going to come back to our basic drill. He goes to throw that elliptical knee, we make him plant. As he goes to plant, we're going to inside trip. Okay. Goes the knee. Now the purpose is not to, go ahead, knee, leg lace. Because in all seriousness, grappling in a free fighting situation doesn't do you justice. So if you're locked here in his leg, all of your weight comes to this support, and you're in a bad way. He has two supporting legs, and you only have one. So your trip is actually when his mobile leg is having the expectancy of transferring into a supporting leg. So he goes, supporting leg, supporting leg. Catch it right before it hits the ground. It should feel like, now, it should feel like when you're walking down the stairs and it's dark and you're expecting there to be one more stair and you hit the landing. That shock. And that same shock should be in his leg. It'll come up the leg all the way to his brain. And he'll feel that impact trauma and just be stunned for a second. One more time. There's the knee, inside trip.